For those who don't know me, Mick Favager, I'm a member of the Dis Woodturning Club, and this is probably the third time we try, or fourth time I've actually tried to do a live demo in my garage here. So I keep chopping and changing all the cameras around. I've got 3 cameras on tonight and a little bit of Gucci hardware that might help me do it as a solo thing. So if it all goes kibosh, then I'll try something else. I might just end up doing it on my little webcam at the top there. The idea of tonight was to do, again, a little bit of between centres turning. And this is a David Sprigett, one of his puzzles called a Gordian knot. So I thought I might have a go at that. It's between centres. It's a good beginner's project, I should think. It requires, you know, a nice little spindle or finial or whatever you want to call it there, and a little top, well, the finial's on the top there, I suppose, and a base. It's in 4 parts. Actually, I'll be making it in 7 parts tonight because I'll actually be turning some little beads. I mean, these are ceramic beads just to make it look a little bit different. And these are just paracord or shoelaces through the center there to make up the puzzle. And the solution to the puzzle will be evident when we put the strings in towards the end of the session. Hopefully it won't take too long. I won't be doing a lot of sanding, maybe because I can't put my extractor on because it's way over there and I'm connected by cables to the system here. Plus it's so noisy. And you can't hear it. I will be wearing a face mask, of course, to do that, to do the work. But that's what we're hopefully going to intend to make tonight. First thing I'm going to have a go at, if I can find my face shield, there it is I'm going to make a little tool. Just come down to this camera here. So I've got a piece of scrap wood on the lathe. If I do that, is that any better? Yeah. I've got a little bit of scrap wood on the lathe here. And I'm going to drill that with a 6mm drill to create a hole, and then we're going to make a mandrel which will be held in the Jacob's chuck in the other end of the thing here. So, and that's where I'm going to mount the orb to turn it. So this is, you could turn it by putting it in a chuck, or you know, however you would normally do it, but this is sort of a very thrifty way of doing it, because you start with the width of wood that you're going to finish with, so there's hardly any wastage. So we'll have a look at that. So I'm just going to drill this first. Okay, so 6mm. I'm only going to drill this right now almost as far as this drill will go anyway, so I hope that's not too noisy with the drill going. Okay, this is just a bit of gash wood I'm doing a little bit fast that for this. And then what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to turn a little bit down to 9mm. This is currently about 15mm at the moment. And I want to make 2 little supports for the orb to go on. And there we go, that's probably far enough for me. I'm just going to take that one out. And I'm going to put another centre in. So that crackling, I think, is the lathe through the microphone. So I'm just going to support that there with a live centre. And I want to start to just reduce the inner bit down there to 9mm, because 9mm, this is the block we're going to turn the orb from. And that's about 64mm that way, and whatever it happens to be square, it's a little bit over 70 at the moment, but I will turn that down to around about 64mm. And I've drilled a 9mm hole just right the way through the centre there. So that'll be, from there to there will be the diameter roughly of the orb. And it will change a little bit when we go flat. And I should end up with 2 little things looking like that, which I'm going to make out of this piece. So the first thing I do, I'm just going to reduce that bit there down to about 9mm. So I've got a little spanner which I'll put on there, and if I can find my tools, there we go. So I have got it supported at the tailstock end there, and I'm just going to reduce the diameter to about 9mm. So this is a 9mm spanner. The ends have been ground over a little bit so they don't catch. It just saves you stopping or starting, and as soon as you get a fit, there you go, we're about 9mm there. You want quite a close fit inside the orb when you do it. So what I can do now, I can just extend that a little bit either way. And then I'm going to part off as close to the chuck as I can. And also in the middle there. Just take that out of the way. There we go. There's one. And then I'm just going to part this off as close to the chuck as I dare go. There we go. So that's got a 6mm hole all the way through and 9mm on there. Because somebody's got the TV on. Would you like to just either mute your microphone so they can't hear it? Hello? Yeah, someone's got the TV on and I can yeah, I can hear it. I don't know if you guys can. Right, thank you very much. Right, so that should have now a 6mm hole through. I've jammed the those little bits of wood I've just made the thing, and I'm going to change ends with the chuck. If I can find my tool, there it is. Get rid of that one. And I'm going to put the Jacob's chuck in this end now. I'll take that out. Take the drill out. And so what I can do is I can put this into there. Now what I've done in here as well, I've just center drilled, where am I? Just center drilled the very end of here, I don't know if you can just see that, so that it'll fit into a center. So it'll fit into the center on the tailstock here. So that's going to go in there, like so. And I put 2 nuts on because I need to lock it as well. So it doesn't, there's a bit of friction there. Right. So I can now bring the center up. There we go. And that's supported at both ends, so just going to do that up quite tight. With 10mm spanner. And the same at this end. And then just going to lock those nuts off. They may come loose as we start, but it should be too bad. a little bit loose. Right, see how that goes for starters. I'm just going to change that. Still a little bit loose there. If you've got a pen mandrel, that would also do. You just may need to adjust the size of the hole from 9mm to 7mm or something like that. That's interesting. Right, see if that does us. So I'm going to take a roughing gouge now and take this down to round. And I'm going to start off around about, I don't know, 1800 RPM, something like that, just to take this down. You can't be too aggressive with this because you will stall it on this mandrel. I can see there's a little bit of chat going up there. John, you can mute yourself using... Oh, sorry, yeah. John's trying to help out. Thanks, John. And this is a bit of ash I've got on here. So that's almost round now, I think. Yeah, and what I'm looking for ideally is about 64-65mm. I'm not... You don't want to waste too much wood, but just for the sake of the project from out of the book, I'm at about 66. So I'll take just a little bit more, because I think its length is... Oh, I got plenty in the length. It's nearly 70 there, so I might just leave that where it is then. The next thing to do, I want to try and identify the centre. So I reckon that is 70-ish, so I'm going to go for 35. It's about that. And then just mark that centre for a minute or two. That does two things really. That helps us, if we're creating a sphere, it helps us make sure our sphere is equal top and bottom, although there will be a flat in the middle when we get around to it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a very, very shallow line on that pencil line, which will help us when we come to drill the holes for the puzzle. It'll just help us a little bit. So I don't need to go too deep, just about a 1/16 or so. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark about 6 or 7mm above and below that line. And there I'm going to put some sort of, oh, I don't know, little diddy bead or something, so I'll go for one there and about one there, and then I'm just going to reduce. Oops, lost my pencil now. I'll just mark those two lines as well. Okay. And I'm going to leave the lines visible. In fact, that one's not quite in the right place. And I'm just going to clear this bit of material away to top and bottom. That's me not moving my rest close enough. Okay, what I don't want to do is lose that line in the middle. That's what my drill's going to pick up. And now I'm going to just start with a spindle gouge, is to turn this to round down to the little spigots I've got on the side there. So the good old adage there, you're going to, you know, the ABC contact, I'm going to rub the bevel a little bit, raise the handle, get the cut, and as I go around the corner, so I'm closing the flute, so the flute's starting up fairly open, yeah, and as I go around the corner, the handle's coming out, and we're going around the corner. To keep things, you don't want to do the whole of one end first. What you need to do is do a little bit to both sides. Now I swap hands, some people don't. So, same thing, going to rub the bevel, raise the handle. Back on the other side. Now I'm coming back towards where those two high points were, because I'm going to put some sort of decorative bead or something on them. It doesn't have to be a perfect sphere. In fact, to be honest, it could be pretty much any shape you like. I think doing a sphere is a fairly good practice. Just trying to pick up a nice light cut now. And the same on this side. You can tell I'm right-handed, can't you? There we go, the flute's almost closed there as I touch that bit there. Right, so I want to put some sort of bead or some sort of decorative effect on there. Probably the easiest way to do it, maybe just a little bit thick at the moment, so I'm just going to reduce the thickness of a little bit. And if you just use the corner of a parting tool or a bead end tool, just to put a chamfer on the edge there and on the inside, and the same over this side. And then what you can do, because this is a tiny bead, you just need to just gently rotate that round, using it almost like a scraper. Okay. Just another way of putting a bead on. Again, I'm using this as a scraper as well. It's almost a negative rake scraper. So, just before I sand it, I'm going to drill the 3 holes required for the puzzle. And the way to do that is, yeah, you need to identify what the diameter is. And I think we're going to be round about 65-ish, I think, maybe a bit more. And that says 64, which is pretty good. So the the radius would be 32. So I'm going to set this to 32. Use a ruler. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go around the circumference and make a few marks. So I'm going to set this to about 32. There we go. So I'm going to have a starting point which I'm going to call number 1, which is, say, here. So I'll just put a little dot there. That's my starting point. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make little tiny indentations all the way around. 1, 2. I'm only really interested in 1, 3, and 6 effectively. There. So I've got 1, come around here, 2, miss 1 out, and go to 3. And that will be, give or take a couple of degrees, 120 degrees around the circumference there. And I'm going to get an 8mm drill. And if you've got indexing on your lathe, that's pretty good. So I'm going to index mine at whatever that is there. And I'm going to grab an 8mm drill. If you do these holes too small, you'll never get your strings through in the end. And it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference if they're slightly oversized. So what I'm going to try and do now is hold this drill as horizontally as I can, and I'm now locked so the ball won't twizzle around, and I've left sufficient room between these two beads to drill. And this is a brad point drill, trying to hold it as horizontal as I can. And I'm going to drill down until I feel the center. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference if you go too far. So there's center. What is in the center, of course, is the metal rod. So, right, so I'm going to move that around now 120 degrees or so. So we'll drill that one, 3. I've misnumbered them. 1, 2, 3. That's right. 2, 1. And I'm going to lock the. Oh, he says. Lock that there and drill another one down to the metalwork. Go. And then same again on the last one. We will go over them with a drill a little bit later on just to clear the center out, because you need a good clean center so you can get the strings in these holes. Okay, so there's 3 holes, yeah, about 120 degrees apart ish. In fact, they're miles away, some of that. And now we can sort of do a little bit of sanding on here if we want to and finish this off. So I'll do very quick sanding on this just to get rid of the pencil marks. I'll start with 180 and go through. I normally start with about 40 grit, but you know. Just turn the speed down. This is where the camera lenses now all go into fog mode. One of the nuts is loose. Is it? That's right. I'll just go to 320 and then we'll call it quits there for now. So you can put a bit of finish on that. I'll put a bit of sanding sealer on. Good old chestnut sanding sealer. Just enough to stop the finish going in too deep. And then I'll put a bit of, just a bit of Yorkshire grit, or actually wood wax will do us. This is wood wax 22. You're probably better off with a microcrystalline finish on this because it will be handled, but just for speed we'll do the wood wax. Ooh. So that's the orb, sort of pretty well done. This is ash, so it really depends what wood you use and how much chipping you get in these holes when you drill them. This isn't too bad. I tend to roll up a little piece of 320, something just to clear the burrs away. There's a little bit of wax in there which won't do any harm for now. So there's 1 or 2 pencil marks left on this. So that's pretty much the orb done, so we can dismount that. Before I do that, undo the nuts. Right, so that can come off the Jacob's chuck now, and come right off the spindle. I said there's nothing stopping you doing this, you know, in a chuck or even between centres if you want to. I just thought this was a novel way of doing it from Sprigett's book. And then you got to try and get those out. There's one screwdriver. There we go. So there's the orb. It will need a bit of sanding at the ends there just to finish it off, but we'll leave that for now. We'll now move on to making the little spindle it stands on. So you can use the same wood if you wished. I'm using a pen blank, which is Honduran rosewood, I think, something like that. I think Sprigett uses ebony, which again is quite nice. So I'm just using a stab centre on that side, and we'll wind that up there. There we go. And what I might do is take this down to a diameter that's good enough to put into my small pen chuck. We'll see how it goes. Now, you really want to try and get the finial out of this, which is a tiny bit at the top, and about 2.5 inches for the stand as well. So we'll do that. So I'll get it to round first. Quite high RPM. What I think I might do is just reduce this end so I can put it into a chuck. So let's get rid of that. This is a record, is it RP 2000 they call them, I think? Something like that. Right, so now we can concentrate on getting the stand, and I'm going to make it about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches long. It doesn't need to be terribly long. I'll just mark my, because I still want to get the top, the finial off somewhere down here. So I'll make that my finial, and I'll make the rest of it my stand. Again, a spindle gouge. Actually, first what you need to do is reduce that diameter top and bottom so that it can fit into the stand and to the orb. So that needs to go down to 9mm as well. Sorry, 6mm. So just enough to go in there. Let's see what we got, 6mm. So just going to set that to 6mm, quite a way to go yet. And just before I take that end down, right down to 6mm, I'll start working on the other bits. So I'm taking quite a small, I don't know, it's a 10mm spindle gouge, and we'll just put some sort of design on here. So I'll have a little bead on the top here, and then something else a bit lower, smaller bead perhaps below it. You really can go to town on this sort of here. You do sort of whatever design you fancy. And we'll have a little bit of a small one at the bottom. And then we'll taper it down to to the bottom here. Again, I'm using this as a scraper more than anything else. And just a little bit of sanding on that. Keep the speed a little bit lower. .240. I'm trying not to create flats on the top of the beads, I'm trying to keep them round. Okay, a little bit of sealer on it. It's really quite nice wood, this rosewood. Going to burnish it a little bit with some nye web. I think Mr. Chestnut recommends that you go back to the last sand grade that you used to flatten off the sealer. Right, again a little bit of wood wax just for speed. I always use paper towels, never use rags or anything like that on this. I'm sure, I've never personally heard of anybody who's got a rag caught, but I'm sure it does happen. If you use the old cotton waste or your old t-shirt or something like that, and it wraps around there, it's only going to drag you in, and that's the worst thing you want. You do when it going around at 15,000 RPM or 1500 RPM. Right, so I want this to be 6mm, so a little bit further to go on that. And the spigots don't need to be terribly long. could use a 6mm spanner, I suppose, as well. Get a little bit more. I haven't filed away the corners of these, so that's why I'm stopping the lathe each time. If you do want to use your calipers while the lathe is turning, then you need to round over the ends. These ends here, so that as it goes in, it rubs against them, but mine are quite sharp because I use this for other things as well. Okay, we're not far away. That's that, okay. That's that, okay. Right, so I can now take down the rest of that just to the end there. And the same at this end. And then we can pop that off. Get rid of the tail stock. There we go. And all things being equal, that should fit inside our spigot quite happily, yeah. And then we shall do the other bits in a minute. Right, so that's that. Now I need to make make a finial. So with what's left on there, we'll make a small finial. So again, bring it to a point. Nope, too much of a point there. And again, a little bit of a ornamental bit at the very bottom of it. Now I'm going to take this down to that same diameter. Because I haven't got much there now, because I haven't left myself much space because I lost the top there, what I'll do is I will saw that off at a later time, but I'm not going to actually use this tonight because I'm going to sort of skip a few steps now. Right, so that would all be sort of glued up together now, so let me just take that out. Actually I will part it off. Made it, drop it on the floor, dropped it in my chips. So that will sit on the top and be glued in, and then the stand, what are we doing with the stand now? That will be glued into the bottom, and so that's pretty much what you'd have there. Where's the camera gone? There, like so. Okay, and that will look like this one here without the base. Okay, so we glue that in. Because it takes so long for the glue to dry, we'll skip to this one in a minute. What we also need to do is make a base, so I will get rid of that chuck there. Again, just bring a piece of ash in, which is probably enough here to get 2 bases out of, maybe more. I'm just going to change this to a ring centre at the bottom there, just to give it a little bit more support. I mean, these are all well and good, but they don't give you a huge amount of support. With a ring centre, you get a little bit more support. So I've marked the centres. Just centre pop those. There we go. We'll just take that down to around now. Is that camera still okay there, is it? Try that. And you want to get the base down to about the same diameter as the orb is. Again, it won't matter if it's a little bit smaller, but if it's bigger, it looks just a bit odd when it's in there. So, just measure that. A little bit more to go, and that's about 66. I'm just going to square off this end again with a parting tool, just to and I'm going to put about a 50mm spigot on here, just so we can put it in the chuck. There we go, that's about it there. So I'll now chuck this up and then turn the base at the other end. Chuck key, that's all I need now, the chuck key. There we go. It's not far away, that's good. Right, so that's that, and I'll square this end off, and again I'll just bring that up for support to start off with. I need a little bit more space at the bottom of my, where the banjo and the tailstock is. They've both got big collars on the bottom, and what's happening is that banjo is now touching at that. So to clear that, if you just slacken that off and then extend your quill a little bit, it'll push it back and allow you to move your banjo that much further across, because it was just a little bit too close to the chuck at this end. Right, there we go. So I'll just give that a little bit of a square up. I'll do for now. And the height of the base, probably allow about an inch or so. You can eyeball that as my pencil. So, as I say, I could probably get 2 out of here, so I'm just going to come about halfway, I suppose. Ooh, that's a nice spiral line. And then I'm going to mark that. And we'll cut off from this, about this point as well. So I'm going to go in at a slight angle, just so that we need to have the base a little bit on the concave side rather than convex, otherwise it wobbles. So just going to go in there as far as I dare without taking a second bite. Now I need to drill a hole to receive the spigot, so find my drill again. I would do if I put the drill down somewhere else. I spent half my life looking for stuff around my workshop that I've used about 5 minutes ago. Oh, there it is. And I only need to drill a hole that is just deep enough to take the spigot on the stand. Turn the lathe down to around about 600 or 700 for a drill, and there we go. See that drill move. Lost my chuck key now. There we go. Only a little bit, and then we can get rid of that now. Right, just going to try change this other camera. Is that any better? Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Right, so we're going back to spindle gouge, and that's where I'm going to put a sort of like a convex slope on there to start off with. Get more speed. And now I'm sort of going in with the flute fairly well closed. So go that way really. Okay, so just a little bit more off the bottom there. And then we may just put a little bit of design in the top here, so grab a smaller. And then we'll put just a little bead going into that hole. And on the other way. And just round over the bottom. Give that a quick sand in. Again, you can certainly go to town on your design if you wish. Put a standard sealer on this again. And now we can pot off this. Again, when I'm parting off like this, because this is such a small tool and it's parallel, it tends to grab, so you make your several cuts on the way down, and it just prevents the tool from binding. There we go. And that's got nice concave base, so it should stand pretty well. There's a tiny little nub there. Again, you hand sand that down to clean it up. So what you end up with is something like this. Okay, so what I would do is I assemble it all inside the chuck, apart from the inside the lathe, apart from the finial, and then keep it under pressure that away. Where am I? I can't find my camera. That away, and then put the finial on at the end. Okay, so that's David Sprigett's orb. Right, so what Sprigett recommends inside his thing is to use a piece of copper wire that you strip out of some 13 amp cable, and that's going to be, we're going to use that for hooking our strings through. So you need 3 strings. I use paracord. If you're going to use paracord, it's a good idea to strip out the central cords. These are all about 1 foot long, and I've tied a knot at each end, and allowed about 1/2 inch, because that will all fray up and look quite pretty. You can adjust the length of these after you've assembled it if you wish. But yeah, recommendation is to strip away the inner core, those strands just come out, and then tie your little knots at the end. Just a simple overhand knot is good enough, he says. There you go, simple overhand knot. Once it's all assembled, you could just put a dot of super glue on the knot side, and then you can allow that to all fuzz out. Some people would tend to burn that off, and then it looks a little bit odd. So I prefer to have the old fluffy bits on the outside there. And then I've used, in this one here, I've used little ceramic beads or glass beads just to attach to the strings. On this one I made 3 little wooden beads, just turn those, just same, drilled a 6mm hole through there and then push the string through. So the first, what happens is you grab your string, you double it into half. Now these are the first 2 strings only, the third string is slightly different. You then put, so the flat or the fat end, if you turned your own, is to the knots. So pull that through, yeah, and there you go. So that's 2 of the strings done. Now I've threaded 1, only because this can take some time. And the way to do this is to put a bit of tension on this side. You've got to get it in and through 120 degrees. I think what Sprigett recommends is that you push the wire in and try and bend it around the corner until it comes out the side here. I found that a little bit difficult to do. So what I do is I put a bit of tension against the stopper there on that one. I've got to draw the second string in through the other hole and back out this one. So what I found the best way to do is to stuff it all in there as deep as you can. There you go. I can't see where it is. Now I'm using, or I have modified a crochet hook, so I've just ground that down to try and fish the other bit out. But I think the copper wire will work just as well. Again, I need to go in a bit more. Oh, nearly had it then. So you can see how I suppose you could drop a piece of fishing line with a little lead weight on it through these holes if you wanted to, and then pull your cord through later. Let's try the other one, the wire. No. We may be here some time. I did it so easily before. Here's one we prepared earlier. Oh, there we go. So now we've got 2 strings through here. Now to do the third, what you do is you get your third string and your third stopper, yeah, and this stopper's got to go all the way onto there first. So the easiest way I've found to do that is the same thing. You could pass it through the loop and then hook both of those together and pull them both through, but I find that a little bit difficult as well. What I found easier is you take one of those cords that came out of the center and thread that through both loops. Yeah, you can then pass that through the skinny end of your bead first, and then you should be able to, with a bit of effort, is pull both loops through. Okay, so now we've got all 3 loops in, and this is where how this works is you now thread the 3rd piece through there, double it back, and pull your thing back, and you've got to get all 3 pieces through here now, which may not be that easy. Cool. Might try one at a time. Maybe I should have drilled a bigger hole. Or use thinner string. That's not going to work, that. I'm not far away, but not. Cool. Right, I think what I'll do, I'm going to drill a slightly bigger hole in this one. It's not quite, it's not going to go all the way through. So let's just try a 7mm. 7mm. This is not going to work at all, this. Yeah, use thinner strings. Or bigger holes. I've got nothing to grip this in at the moment when I stood at the lathe. So. Say again? Yes, behind me I have, yeah. Yeah, again, they're at the other side of my workshop. Nearly there. Oh. Yeah, we've got 2 pieces now. I haven't got a 3rd. No. That's sort of blown it, isn't it? I wonder if that's any bigger. See, these are shoelaces in here, so they're not so thick. I'll take this one off here just for now, and then we'll see if I can't get that to work. Maybe not. I think this is even tighter, this little thing. No, I'm not going to get that on. Yeah, I will do, yeah. Yeah, so that's sort of where we ended up. And and I'm going to pull those two black pieces back through the ring here. I'll put this on there first. Right, there we go. So that's on there. So you take your third bit of string now, yeah, and pass that through the loops, both pieces of string. So that's the key to the puzzle, really, is to undo it. You have to push that back up there. So this should with a bit of luck come back through. There it is. So then when you pull all your strings equal again, your puzzle is complete. How's that? Anyone have a go at that? Any questions? Anybody? No. Stunned silence. Yeah. Oh. Press unmute. Yeah. Yeah. So right, if you didn't know how I disassemble that, the idea is now to separate the strings. The Gordian knot was something that Alexander the Great lays claim to. So, this is nothing like the Gordian knot of those times. I think this is just a play on it. So the puzzle would be that if you didn't know how to do this, you may be struggling for some time to separate all these strings. And actually what happens is when somebody does separate all the strings, you've got the same problem of getting them all back in with your little bit of wire or your crochet hook to do it. So this tends to be more like ornamental than anything else. Yeah, this is chestnut and ebony, this one. So, yeah. Could be a rattle, I suppose. Yeah, well, that's short and sweet for a Friday night. Yes. That's what he did, didn't he? He cut it in half with his sword or something, I think. Alexander the Great. Yes. I will, yes. I'll put them on the I'll put them on the Disc website, the Disc Woodturning Club website. Yeah. Okay. All right. Short and sweet, I know, but we'll try something a bit longer next time. Probably the end of next month. Yeah, I'm going to probably try and do it on the last Friday of each month, which is when we would normally have our club nights. I know Friday night's not ideal for everybody, but at least it's in keeping with the club's night. So we can do that. So great stuff. Thanks very much, everybody. And we'll see you again. All right. Bye now. Hello. Ah. You're definitely in the dark there, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yep, lovely. Yeah, oh, lovely. Yeah, sure. I'll put it on the Disc Woodturning, which is discwoodturningclub.co.uk. I'll put that on over the weekend, the dimensions and how it's done. Okay, no. Cheers then. Bye now. All right, Tony. That's all right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, great stuff, yeah. Yeah. Roger, yeah. All right, cheers everybody. Bye now. End. Hit the end button. Oops.